Yeah, I'll stop you there because I've got a question. And the question is, obviously, I think I've seen, obviously, through my conversation, felsic rock, mafic rock, granitic rocks, limestone in this case, and I spoke to someone who said they were in sediments,
Yep.
and everyone's slightly different in terms of grade or composition and thing. So my simplistic thinking is that surely the geological control must have some sort of uh, effect on what you get. But on top of that, I think the geomorphological thing, part of it, whether it acts as a trap or a host or it acts as a conduit for enrichment to happen. So that combination must be in play because otherwise everything will be homogeneous,
Yes. Yep.
like
I agree.
alluvial gold, for
Yeah.
example. You know, but
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
not. It's not because you're getting different grades, you're getting different. Um, well, like OD6 and those guys, they've said there's what you could term refractory and non-refractory um, parts of their project, and I think that's again, and then you're getting recently Venture Minerals announced they got like 40, 50 meters at close to 2,000 ppm, and certain parts of it's about 2,500 ppm, um, and it's in the sort of like non-weak belt area, not where the Esperance is. So the geology is slightly different again.
Yeah.
Where that means in extraction, whether it's easily, that's their next step,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yep.
As you say, rightly, is everyone's unique in
Yeah.
that deposit, right?
Yes.
So, do you agree that all those combinations has to be a control there somewhere, right? It can't be just magical
Yeah.
that you have this randomness.
Yeah, I think so too. I think firstly we have to have a source of the rare earths. So you have to have minerals or something that breaks down to release those rare earths in the first place. I think geomorphology plays a big part. So I think you look at I think Cobra Resources. Their new model is to look at paleo channels and the mobility of rare earths in groundwater through paleo channels. So this is a big question that I had: is how do you mobilize and where do you mobilize and concentrate the rare earths in the in the clay hosted? So first, obviously, we need the source. Yep, that makes sense. So could be rare earth rich granites, or it could be anything. And then if they're going to move in groundwater, we need to start thinking about, are they moving in paleo channels, where they're going, what kind of groundwater mobilizes them. So I know, for example, that in rare earths in groundwater, they're mobilized by two things. One of those things is carbonate complexes. So they've formed carbonate complexes in water, and also humic substances. So, to mobilize them and what the concentrations of these rare earths are in the groundwater, we don't really know. They're not going to be very large. So I think we have to think about the source first. They're not going to move very far from the source. That's what I think. My opinion is that I don't know. That's just what I think in terms of there's too many traps around. So, and the traps can be a different type of groundwater fluid. They can be reduced by the rocks. There's too many interactions, but they won't move very far from the source. So even if you are looking at, say, granites and you have a paleo channel next to it, that's a potential where you might find, say, rare earths. Obviously, for in situ weathering, you want to look for any minerals in that basement rock that have rare earths that can easily be broken down during weathering. That will release the rare earths. So the other, you mentioned sedimentary rocks, and that's another interesting topic, is that I think Taruga minerals in Flinders Ranges here, they found clay-hosted rare earths in a quartzite. So these clays develop on these quartzites. But what's really interesting is they're proximal to this diapiric intrusion, so these massive salt diapirs that have risen through these sediments and now occur basically throughout the Flinders Ranges. And this is sort of, I think, almost the first type of its of the clay hosted deposit that we know, because these sort of clay hosted rare earths occur along the margins of these diapirs, and we have no idea why. And there's so many of them in the Flinders Ranges. So one of the things that I'm interested in, and I'll be looking into, is that I'm going to be going to target these sedimentary rock packages next to these salt diapirs, which nobody's looked at before. It was only an accident, well, not really an accident. I guess the Taruga Minerals, they can tell you how they managed to zone in and find these rare earths, but certainly they're there. And we don't know whether they occur everywhere, but I think the main thing is the source, whether it's the fluid, or, I think you have to have the rocks that are, or maybe even, I guess you can look at faults and fluid movement along faults as well, associated with intrusions as well, and that's another topic. But for the clay hosted rare earths, you have to have that proximal source somewhere, I would say.